What is up, Nickel City Mafia? Man, have we got a great one for you, and literally a great one for you tonight. Um, I'm so excited. I may, be forgetting to say things. So Jake and Nate are here for support. We're going to be talking to one of the greatest, one of the, my favorite players of all time. I mean, never thought I'd have this opportunity, but here we are. Before we get started, and I introduce these gentlemen here to my left, to my right, not sure. I do want to say on this Memorial Day, I want to take a moment to remember the heroes that we have lost. Without them, we wouldn't have the freedoms that we have today. So we salute them and their families, and we thank them very much. So over to my right is Mr. Jake Podger, who is my normal co-host every week on this show. But Jake, we have somebody I haven't met before, and can you tell me who this gentleman is here?
Yeah. So first off, we have Andre Reed coming up very soon here. Stay tuned.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But we had to bring in the big guns for this show, and I am very honored to bring a man. And I wrote this down because I knew I was going to forget with Andre being on, but a man that wears many hats, sometimes has a mustache. He doesn't have a mustache right now, but he's got part of it, and he's got the little goatee going. The host of the Buffalo Bills pregame, halftime, and postgame show on WGR, and an alleged scratch golfer, and one hell of a Twitter personality, my cousin, Nate Geary.
I don't know. Alleged scratch golfer. That's not true. I'm gonna tell you that. I'm gonna nip that in the bud right now. I'm not a scratch golfer, but I appreciate it, buddy.
I thought you were.
No. I look like a scratch golfer. There's a big difference.
Fair enough. Well, you definitely look the part. I think you own it, and you got to give yourself a little more credit. But fired up to have you on, cuz. Thank you so much for joining us. We are very excited to be welcoming a very special guest to our program. Not only you, but obviously a Hall of Fame wide receiver and one of the greatest Buffalo Bills of all time. So I know Mike is totally starstruck right now. He may be at a loss for words at times.
No,
so
I'm
here to back him up.
I've been working on this intro for Andre since I knew we were going to be doing this show. So first of all, did you guys like that intro? London?
Oh, it was awesome.
All those landmarks.
Beautiful.
If that didn't make you want to book a package right now to go see the Bills play in October against the Jaguars, I got something that's going to take you over the edge. And we're going to bring him on the show right now. Hall of Famer, Wall of Famer, 7-time Pro Bowler. Like you said, Jake, one of the greatest wide receivers to ever play the game. The best wide receiver to ever play for the Buffalo Bills. Mr. Andre Reed. Let's bring him on right now. Andre, hello, sir. How you doing?
You guys are good, man. I love your intro. I love it.
Andre, we had to go big with the intro. I mean, this travel package that you and Big Game Travel have partnered up for is fantastic. And we're going to talk about some of those perks here in a little bit of this package. But I was asking you pregame or pre-show if you've ever been to London, and you had a nice little story to share with the folks.
Yeah. First of all, I want to thank you guys for having me on. It's out here in San Diego right now. It's 3 hours earlier, so getting your Memorial Day all early here. People already out, so it's already. I want to, add to your sentiment about Memorial Day and what it means. I think a lot of people just think it means barbecuing and family and all that, and obviously it does mean that. But I want to give a salute to all the military personnel. I got my military Bills sweatshirt on. Salute to all the military. And out here in San Diego is a big military town. I've done a lot of things with the military over the last 5-6 years. And obviously, basically since I've been here, golf tournaments, different fundraisers. They're very important out here, very important all across the country. So it's their day. We wouldn't be able to do what we do if it wasn't for them, not only serving, but a lot of them don't come back home. And it's important that we salute them today on this day. I know throughout the National Football League, they do a lot of tributes to military personnel, and it's well-deserved because, again, we wouldn't be able to do what we do without them protecting us. So happy Memorial Day.
Well said, Andre. Well said.
Yes, Andre, why don't you? So first of all, let me just set the stage here. So Big Game Travel and Andre Reed have partnered up to bringing you an amazing experience, a opportunity to travel to London. They have 4-night packages, 6-night packages, and they take care of everything. All you got to do is show up at the airport with your luggage and your passport. And we're going to go through some of the events that they've added as part of that package. And the biggest perk, in my opinion, obviously going out to support the Bills and that, is Mr. Andre Reed's going to be traveling to London. He's going to be participating in a lot of the events.
Mike, your audio's, I don't know if
Oh.
you guys are catching this, but Mike's audio is going out a little bit.
All right, well,
It's a little sped up, if you will.
Okay. All right, let me go ahead and continue, Jake.
I will
and
continue.
I'll come
Yes.
back. I'm going to leave and come back.
So it's an unbelievable package, guys. I know, they're putting together this really nice thing there out in London. You're going to be able to hang out with yours truly right here. I know they have a bunch of events. There's a tailgating event. They're providing food. There's a whole travel package. They provide the airlines and all that stuff, the flights, the hotels, everything, you name it. So Andre, obviously want to talk to you a little bit about, your time. You said you spent some time in London already, but how excited are you to be able to go back over there, spend some time with some fans, be able to experience Bills Mafia, as a spectator this time around as compared to a player?
Like I said off camera, that I played over there in 1989. We played the Eagles in a preseason game in old Wembley Stadium. I don't know if Wembley Stadium is still there. I think it's probably still there. But then in 1990, we played over in Berlin, Germany. We played the Vikings in 1990. So, again, they were just preseason games. So, obviously, what the NFL has done over all those years about getting teams over there and playing regular season games and seeing fan bases come together across the pond is really good for the league. And they've been doing it the last, 10 years now. So it's maybe more. So I'm excited to go back over to London. It's a great place. It's very historical. Obviously the Tower of London and all the things that go on over there in London, and just hanging out with some British people is really fun. I had a good time while I was over there. So to get back there again, as Bills Mafia is going to be in the house, and Bills Mafia travels. They're one of the best, if not the best, traveling fan base in all of sports. And I got a big feeling that Bills Mafia is going to represent pretty well over in London in October.
Yeah, no doubt. I want to check. Is my mic sound okay?
You're good, Mike.
Much
It
better.
would figure, right? The biggest show I have of my life.
You good, Mike? You good, bro?
And I
You
do
good?
these shows all the time. And of course, my mic has a technical difficulty. So sorry, Andre.
No, you good, man. You good.
But I'm sure Jake represented well. Like I was saying, just an amazing travel package, and with you and Big Game Travel. And just some of the things I want to point out that as part of this package, you got 5-star hotel accommodations in central London, daily breakfast every day. You got transfer to and from the airport. Like I said, just show up at the airport with your luggage and your passport. They got tours. They got the tour of Windsor Castle, and a great photo opportunity with Andre himself. And he's hosting some of these events that have open bars. One thing I was saying to Nate, because Nate's also been to London before we started the show, is like, what's one thing in common with London from Buffalo? Well, guess what? London has 3,500 pubs, a pub at every corner. And what's the story in Buffalo? A bar at every corner. So let's go.
Let's go.
Ain't that the truth?
Nothing quite as luxurious as the Big Tree Inn, but there's a couple things close.
Exactly.
I love that.
Yeah.
A couple things close.
So I might have missed some stuff, but Andre, this is probably the first. How excited are you traveling? Did you ask that, Jake? How are you excited traveling with the Bills Mafia? I think you already
asked him,
covered that, right?
how is it going to be now as a spectator as compared to being a player? A little bit of different, I'm sure it's going to be a different type of atmosphere for you, and being able to experience these fans that, have loved and grown up watching you play. That's got to be an awesome experience for them. So shout out to Big Game Travel, by the way. They are the ones that put together this package. And, I know they work pretty closely with Andre, and they actually gave us a little code there. You'll see right on the it's my left-hand side. It might be your right-hand side. Not really sure based on how you're watching this. But the code is READ83. So if you use that code, you get a little bit of a discount. So not too bad.
Yeah.
And then also, if you see that little code in the right there of your screen, the QR code, if you're watching this on your desktop, you take out your phone and you scan that, you'll go right to the Big Game Travel website. It'll tell you all the details about the package. So all that out of the way, let's start talking to Andre Reed. And Nate, I'm sure you got a few questions. You've been to London, so
Sure.
maybe you can share some stories and ask Andre some things.
Yeah, one thing I'm always interested in is, especially now, I mean, in the league right now, Andre, you see a lot of these guys talking about the artificial surfaces versus the grass surfaces. And over there, the soccer pitches, the grass is a lot different than what you would expect a football field to be. It's softer. Like you kind of see the surface gets pulled apart a little bit easier on the soccer surface. What's that like as a skill position player? Like is your job to cut and move fast? How much different is it playing on that type of surface than it is like in a standard surface here in the U.S. that's maybe built more for football?
It's a lot different. You know what? October in London, over there in England, could be raining. I know a couple of the games that I've watched over the years that some of these teams were over there. It was a little soggy, so the field's going to give a little bit different. Obviously, it's going to give a little bit because of the sogginess to it. I'm sure these guys will know that before they get there. They'll probably take 2 pairs of shoes just in case. Shoes with a little longer cleats on them, a little longer stubs on the bottom of them. But I don't think that's really going to be the only different thing. I mean, it's not like they're going to say, well, this happened because of the field. I mean, everybody's got to play on it. So you just got to be prepared that you're going to do better on it than your opponent. So I think, Sean will have those guys ready, whatever the weather may be. But like you guys said before, what a spectacular package this is from Big Game Travel. Not only do you get everything to the game, you just got to show up with your passport, make sure it's valid. You're not going to get in if it's not valid. And you get to experience London, get to experience the British life to a certain point. And I'm sure a lot of Bills fans would love to do that. And I'm going to be there, like you guys said. I'm going to be hosting a lot of things, hanging out with some Londoners, and seeing how they feel about it. So I'm very excited about it. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, one of the venues has an open bar with you, Andre Reed. I mean, seriously,
that could be dangerous.
That could be very dangerous. And then there's an all-inclusive tailgate party with you there. There's a swag bag. I gotta reach out to Big Game Travel and get my swag bag. And what I really love about Big Game is that they have a dedicated trip host during your stay. So they have somebody there that you can ask questions to. A lot of folks that do these packages, they just drop you off and say, we'll see you back at the airport when the game's over, but not Big Game Travel. So that's an awesome thing, I think, is that they've included as part of this package.
And I guarantee you, Bills Mafia, they take over everywhere they go. They will take over London.
And I talked about this on our show. We just did a schedule show, basically going through each game, and we talked about this London game in particular. It was supposed to be a home game for the Bills. Every game is a home game for the Bills. So I'm glad you mentioned that, Andre.
Yeah.
Do have a question for you as well.
Okay.
So Josh Allen had mentioned he's going to wear a little Peaky Blinders get up when he gets there, him and the quarterbacks. Are you going to be wearing anything special? Are you going to be wearing any like London-esque, attire while you're there? Or are you just going to go, wear the gold jacket? I mean, what are you going to do? Anything special?
No, I'm definitely not wearing my gold jacket. That's
Fair enough.
No. That's that's not going to be part of my wardrobe. But again, first week in October, you got to dress accordingly just in case. You never know. I mean, it's not going to snow. I wonder if it's ever snowed in October over there. I don't know. But it'd probably be a little brisk. So, jacket will be required, but not the gold one. Right. And so I look forward to doing some shopping maybe while I'm over there, Yeah, going to do some shopping. They got some good shopping spots over in London, man.
I love it.
Yeah.
You know what you guys got to do while you're in London, too, is try to go see a soccer game. When I went to London back in 2019, I got there. The first thing I did was like, I'm gonna go try to see an English Premier League game. Even if I go see a small club, getting to see if you can pull in during that weekend an English Premier League soccer game and a Bills game in London, that'd be really cool. I was there. Yeah. I was there during the International Week of Rest. Not one level of soccer, not even the kids. There wasn't even youth soccer being played in England when I was there. It was the worst. So I unfortunately will be back at Network Control back here in Buffalo for the game, and I will not be in London. So make sure you guys go see a soccer game while you're in London for sure.
Did they also shut the King and the Queen down too? They shut them down.
They shut everything down. The Buckingham Palace. They just did their normal kind of walk out in the guards. They walk out, do their thing. They change hands, they change guards. But normally there's a little bit more like kind of hurrah to the whole thing. But yeah, everything was kind of, maybe that's why the tickets were so damn cheap. I don't know.
Hey,
that makes sense.
What would be this if I got like a little selfie with one of the changing of the guard guys?
Ooh.
That would go viral, wouldn't it?
You could do it because you're the GOAT. Like they're probably
for us,
wouldn't
it's
like
a felony.
It with us. Yeah, for us it might be a felony. Yeah.
They put me under Traitors Gate over there at the Tower in London. That's what they might do over there, man. People have done it though. People have taken pictures with those guys, and they're pretty. They're pretty stoic. Those guys.
Yeah, man, they are.
I mean, they don't smile. I wonder if when they go home after work, do they smile? Like, do they ever smile? Because they don't smile. They just do their job. Pretty dedicated. One thing I know that. But that would be a heck of a selfie and a picture on Instagram or something, man, with one of those guards.
Absolutely, it would be.
They probably go home and just let off a big laugh and a smile, like, "Oh my goodness, I couldn't have taken it another minute."
They're gonna be like, "Bill's Mafia's coming, get in there."
Once they see someone go through a table, I feel like you got to change the demeanor a little bit. If they don't, I mean, maybe they're just not human. I don't know.
I wouldn't be surprised if Bill's Mafia in the park there in front of Buckingham Palace tries to go through a table.
There's plenty of space. There's plenty of space to go through a table in front of Buckingham.
Yeah, dude, they're going. I'm telling you, whoever's watching, that might be your calling, man. Buckingham Palace table jump
and Big Ben. Got to get one in front of Big Ben too.
Oh my goodness,
that's true. Yes.
Yep.
I do want to let everyone know watching. I'm trying to do my best to represent this because this is an incredible thing, and I already said ahead of time I might forget things because Andre Reed's right there next to me on screen. But all the details about these packages can be found in the description of this video. Just go down to that description, click the link, go to Big Game Travel, find everything out right there, or scan that code on your screen right now. All right, Andre, I have a question for you.
Go ahead, Mike.
And so you went to Deerhoff High School in Allentown, Pennsylvania, and you were a quarterback. And apparently you took that team to a championship in your senior year as a quarterback. You then go to Kutztown University for college, and you make the switch. I'm sorry, what was that, sir?
I said shout out to the PSAC.
Oh, yeah.
PSAC, baby, all day.
And then you convert to wide receiver. Can you talk a little bit about why that pivot, why that change came about?
Well, it wasn't my, obviously, I mean, it was not my decision. I think when I was in high school quarterback, I wasn't your class A passer. I mean, I could pass the ball, but that wasn't my, one of my strengths. My strength was running with the football. Mm-hmm. And we kind of ran like a veer type of offense to a certain point. So I had the option of either keeping the ball or giving it away if you saw the old veer back in the day. So that's why my running skills really amped up. Always, most of the time, having the ball in my hands. And that's really what happened when I went to Kutztown, because they had a quarterback there that was good, was pretty good, was a lot better quarterback than me. And before I got to training camp, or 2 days, the coach said to me, have you ever played receiver? And I was like, well, no, I never played receiver, but, maybe in the yard at home with my brothers, I thought I was Lynn Swan, or Lynn Swan was my favorite favorite player. I wore 88 in college because of him too. But the Steelers were my team, and I loved Lynn Swann and John Stallworth and Theo Bell and all the receivers they had back then in the 70s, late 70s. And I said, Coach, wherever you want me to go, I just want to play. First day of training camp, they put me out at receiver.
The rest is history.
Wow.
That was history right there. Yeah.
Oh man, that's incredible. I mean, I can ask you so many questions, but I want the other guys to have a chance to. Jake, I know you got a couple. I think you had a follow up to the Cutstown question that I had.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you a little bit about that. So I said shout out to the PSAC first off because my brother and a bunch of his buddies, they all played at Edinboro. So I know it's a rival school, but I did have to give a shout out. There's a lot of good athletes that play Division II ball, especially in that conference alone. Yeah. So I don't think people really understand, like, first off, to play college football alone, you're one of so many people, but also at the same time, not many people actually do go to the next level, whether it's D3, even NAIA, like all those levels. You're a hell of an athlete if you play at any level. So then also you go to Edinboro or you go to Cutstown, you shine there, you're unbelievable. And it's from what I've seen, it looked like you started getting recognition during your junior year from NFL scouts. So that's what I read at least. But I wanted to ask you about that process. Like, how did you actually get discovered? When did you know, like, hey, I have a shot at this next level and I'm going to be a star at the next level?
Well, it was really, my head coach at the time really kind of got the ball rolling with a lot of these teams coming in and seeing me play. And did I know they were coming in, seeing me play my junior and senior year? My senior year, yes. But there were scouts coming in after my freshman year. And there were scouts coming in after my sophomore year. And it wasn't until my junior year where scouts started coming in more and more during the season, in the off season, just to see me get, what I was going to do my senior year. So that's really when I the thought process was like, maybe I might get a shot at playing in the big leagues, playing in the NFL. And that's all really I wanted. Did I know I was going to make it? I wasn't like, yeah, I'm going to make this. I didn't know that. I was a young kid coming out of high school, basically a young kid in college. So maturity wise, I was not where I needed to be maturity wise. And by my senior year, that's when everything took off. It took off like my junior year, but my senior year, my maturity and everything else, I got bigger, I got faster, I got everything else. It was my senior year where all that stuff just started rolling. Oh, and so when those scouts started coming my junior and senior year, I was like, I just give me a shot, just give me a chance. And I guess the rest is history.
And then you get drafted in the fourth round, which is, that's unbelievable. First off, just to get drafted alone, but you go in the fourth round. Yeah. Did you have any expectation on where you would be drafted, or were you just like, hey, wherever I go, and I'm happy about it?
Exactly. Wherever I go. I mean, of course, well, to a certain point, I wanted to be Pittsburgh because that was my team.
Yeah. Right.
And then I remember draft day, there was two teams that were involved in drafting me. And that was Dallas and Denver. So I thought I was going to go to Dallas or Denver on draft day. And back then it was 12 rounds. Mm-hmm. So the draft took like 8 years for it to be over with.
Yeah, right.
I mean, it was like 300 and there was a lot of players they had to go through in 2 or 3 days. And I was projected to go rounds 3 through 6, the projection. Mm-hmm. And I ended up going 4th round. So, and I didn't know, it was Dallas or Denver. And then my agent got a call from Buffalo. And that's when I got the call and said, yeah, this is the Buffalo Bills. We're going to pick you. And I was like, and I tell this story, I'm going to write a book, man. And one chapter is going to be called, I did not know where Buffalo was. I had no idea.
Love it.
Buffalo, New York. I'm thinking, when you say New York, what do you think right away?
New York
City.
Yep.
You think New York, somewhere in that area. I didn't think this little tiny spot next to a big lake that snows like crazy. I had no idea, but I got to mini camp my rookie year, and it snowed during mini camp. Yeah, snowed up in
Wow.
Buffalo.
Welcome.
First week in May, like first or second week of May, it snowed. And I remember some of the veterans there, like Ken Jones and Jim Haslett and Jerry Butler, and they said, "Hey, man, welcome to Buffalo." I was like, "Okay."
Crazy.
That was it. Yeah, that was my introduction to a lot of snow.
Did you have a mentor during your rookie year? Like, who was that guy? Did you have a guy that you kind of went to and, asked a lot of questions? Or
Jerry Butler was probably my biggest mentor. Charlie Romes on the defense. Jim Haslett was always a great guy to talk to. Fred Smirlis. All these guys were kind of maybe 6 or 7 or 8 years already in the league when I was a rookie.
Right.
And I don't know if you guys remember, we drafted 2 other receivers in 1985, and Chris Burkett in the second round. So he went before me.
Yeah.
And then Jimmy Teal was in the 8th or 9th round from Texas A&M. So, just picture training camp 1985. We had 16 receivers out there.
Wow.
We think the Bills have a loaded receiving room now. So I can only imagine. Yeah.
16 guys, and add a couple free agents in there and all the guys that were drafted, before then. So regardless of what the record of the team was the year before that, and they were 2-14 in 84, we ended up going 2-14 in 85. Then we went 4-12. Then we went 7-9. And that's when we got Thurman, Cornelius, me and Bruce. We had Darryl. All of us started playing. And before you know it, we were pretty much of a juggernaut going into, each season. So, and that really, I really grew up fast in Buffalo, not only as a football player, but as a person. And I can just see from the fan standpoint, they were starving for a winner so bad. And, there was no Bills Mafia back then. There were just fans in the stadium, and, there was no jumping off of tables and jumping on tables and breaking them and, lighting themselves on fire. There was nothing like that. But as we started winning, you can see the momentum, from the fans really taking over.
Yeah. So, Nate, I'll throw it to you in a second here. I have to have this follow-up question. So in July of 1986, Andre, about a month before the USFL league was about to begin its fall season, it folds. And Jim Kelly joins the Buffalo Bills. How much did you know about Jim? And when you first met Jim, what was that like? And then, of course, what was your relationship with Jim throughout your career?
Relationship was awesome. I wouldn't be in the Hall of Fame. I wouldn't be the player I was without a guy like that believed in me, like I believed in him. And I remember the USFL in 1985 when I came out, they still were playing. Like you said, they folded in 86. I was drafted by the Orlando Renegades in 1985 when I came out. And this was before the NFL draft that took place. And I remember our agent telling me, he didn't say, do you want to go to the USFL? Do you want to go to the NFL? And I kind of, weighed all the possibilities as far as, what are the, repercussions of me going here early and waiting and all this other stuff. And I always wanted, at that time, I wanted to play in the NFL. And the USFL was just like this. We didn't know to a certain point. Yeah, it was great being drafted in the second round by the Orlando Renegades. But I wanted to play in the NFL when it came down to it. And he told me to wait. And that next year, a couple months later, when the NFL draft came around, that's when I was drafted by the Bills, and kind of glad I did wait.
Yeah. And so when you met Kelly that first time, was it just you just got off to a great connection right away?
Oh, yeah. I think Jim, when he was drafted, but you guys know Jim didn't want to come to Buffalo.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at the draft of 1984 with Elway and Marino and all that. And Jim Kelly said in an interview that I did not want to go to Minnesota, Green Bay, Buffalo. And he ended up getting drafted by Buffalo. And I think when he got here, it wasn't till later when I actually met him in minicamp. And it's not like we hit it off right away to a certain point, but I had seen him play in the USFL. He really didn't see me because from a small school, I was on local TV. I was not, like Notre Dame or Clemson or any of those schools. And I really had to prove to him that I could play in this league and be the guy that he'll come to and the guy that he could trust. And as that relationship got better on the field, it got better off the field. And we ended up, doing a lot of good things together.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I'm going to throw it to you, Nate, but I just want to go back to that London package and say, look at what we're talking. We're talking to Andre Reed. In London, you could be having these conversations at all these incredible events. Oh my goodness. I mean, I've been checking out the packages, let me tell you, and I've been talking to the wife on how we can get me there. Just me. But let me throw it to you, Nate. I know you have a few questions.
Yeah, I was looking at those packages too, man. It's not badly priced considering all the stuff you're going to be getting when you're getting to fly over the pond. It's actually not that long of a flight either. If anyone's ever flown internationally, it's really not all that bad.
No,
Andre, I wanted to
from California. It's long.
Yeah. Oh, well, yeah. From California, from Buffalo, it's like a 5-hour flight. It's really
my daughter actually just came back from there yesterday. She was in London for like 4 or 5 days.
Oh, yeah. It's not too bad at all from here in Buffalo or Toronto Airport, wherever you're flying out from.
Right.
One of the things I wanted to ask you, Andre, too, is just about like the core players. Maybe it's bias, or maybe people in Buffalo, we look at it this way because you guys are, close to the sun in this sort of aspect. But, Thurman and you and Jim and, and like all of the greats that played here, maybe just kind of like the core guys, Cornelius and like all these guys that kind of when you think about the 90s era Bills and the Super Bowl era Bills, you kind of, everybody's got their own like 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 guys that they think about. I don't know how unique it is in other places, but it just feels like you guys were such a close group of guys. And, when you go other places or talk about other teams, I don't know that you like see the core group of guys that that really helped the franchise elevate to the level it was back in the 90s. Like you guys are all close and you're friends and you're constantly in Buffalo and you're sort of ingrained in the community, even if you don't live here. Like it's still like every Sunday we get to see you down by the big tree or at some kind of tailgate in the stadium. Would you say that you feel like that's maybe unique to this franchise and to this team, that like a group from that, like from a team, be so close knit and still be so close to this day?
I think it's unique in sports as a whole.
You don't see it other places.
No, I think, like you said earlier, every team has their core guys. And it just so happened we played in Buffalo, New York, which is not, New York City. It's not Chicago. It's not LA. It's not San Francisco. It's a tight group of people that not only love their team, but it's like they go to work, they get up, have their coffee, go to work, go to a Bills game. I mean, the Bills are in their everyday thing. And that's unique in sports as a whole. And I think the fans and the team are so synonymous with each other that things like that just cannot break apart. And it just so happened during the 90s, you had some of the greatest players that ever played a game in one spot, and that was Buffalo, New York. And I was just ecstatic and glad and just blessed to be a part of that, of those teams and those guys and that franchise. Ralph Wilson knew what he was doing. And, Marv Levy knew what he was doing. Bill Polian knew what he was doing. And as that rolled and rolled and rolled, the players now are always reminded of that in some kind of way. It's not like Sean McDermott goes up to his team and goes, "Hey, you know who played here?" The team knows. They know that. It's all over the walls there. It's all over the stadium. It's in the locker room. It's everywhere. So, and that gives them an extra edge too when they go out there and play. So it's good to be, can I say loved? It's good to be loved like that when you go back there. And it doesn't matter how many times I go back there, when I go back there, there's always somebody, the fans, they always know what it meant to them during those times in the 90s, because a lot of them grew up during the 90s. You know, I go back there, I was 10 years old in 1990, and they're grown men now. You know, they have their own families, and all the things that they've seen, they tell their family, and the family tells their family, and it goes on and on and on. And that's, again, I think that's the unique part about it, that a team can be so much enthralled with a city that it's in their everyday stuff. And not too many franchises can say that.
100% agree. Yeah, and I'll echo that too. I mean, I'm 29 years old. I missed the boat on that 90s Bills team. And I'm so, growing up though, I was told all the stories. I knew who you were by the age of 3 years old, Andre. Like I knew all about it. I knew about Jim. I knew about you. I knew about Thurm. Like, you guys essentially, I mean, the Bills in general to this day, it sets the tone for your week. I mean, it really does. Like when they win, you're high. I mean, the purchases are up across the board. You know, in Buffalo, people are going shopping, buying things, all fired up, all happy. And as Mike said, when a loss would happen, not as many people would go out. People would be a little depressed, And a lot of people say, it's just a game, but it's more than just a game to us. Like we ride or die with this team no matter what. And it does affect your mood. It really does. And I don't think I've ever been brought to my knees as many times as I have just watching the Bills. Obviously, for my lifetime.
Let me tell you, the last 3 years, I was on pins and needles the last 3 years.
Exactly. Yeah.
With this team. But you cannot talk about the history of the NFL without the Bills in the 90s. You can't.
Absolutely.
You cannot talk about, you could talk about the Steelers of the 70s and the Cowboys and, the Patriots and all that kind. You could talk about them, but something about our team in those years that really gets to people because nobody wanted us to win to a certain point. We lost 4 in a row, and people don't talk about that like they used to when I retired. I mean, when I retired, that's all people said to me. You guys lost 4. You got to. But then I go, well, what were you guys doing during all those 4?
Right. And has it ever happened since? Has a team gone 4 straight Super Bowls since? You'll never see it.
People say, well, what would you change about all those years in Buffalo? And I go, you know what? There's not too many things I would change. Yes, winning, number one. We didn't win. But I wouldn't have changed, to a certain point, winning with the guys that I played with.
Right.
Because I consider those guys like part of my family. And you'll do anything in the world for your family. That's one thing I would not change.
Yeah,
I love that.
Absolutely. You brought up the Super Bowls, Andre, so I just have a question for you about that. And you know what? I'm so lost for words because Andre, I just forgot my train of thought here. So I'll come back to this question because it's a good one. I do want to ask you it.
We're going through it right now.
I really am. I'm seeing this guy. My goodness. You're talking about those Super Bowls. I'm reliving those Super Bowls right now. I mean, I was a young man in the 90s. I can remember being in Buffalo at the TV, watching all those incredible games, and what a feat it was. And I don't care, people, like you said, Andre, nobody says that these days. You lost 4 Super Bowls. No way. That's a feat that, is going to be hard to ever accomplish again. But Jake, let me throw it to you for a question.
Yeah,
and then I'll come back
something
with
to be
mine.
said about that too. Like, you guys were together, that whole core group of dudes. You guys stayed together at the very beginning of when free agency started to become a thing too. Like, no one talks about that. When Reggie White signed that big contract to go to Green Bay, you guys still stuck together. That whole Bills team. I mean, you guys were together all the way up through the late 90s. And
we know what we had, man.
Yeah.
We know what we had because we didn't want to stop the train from rolling. because the core guys there, and again, the team is only good as what the front office does. We still got to play. Obviously, we got to go out there and perform. But if you look at the NFL now, a lot of these teams are built on personnel and where they get personnel from. And that's up to the personnel office. And I think, Bill Polian, Hall of Famer for a reason. He's an architect of how to build a team. And then you got to get that team to buy in on the system and go out there and, bring everybody else into the system. And then once you do that, you start winning games. You still got to play, but at least you have the groundwork of the floor for the house. You got the bricks there. You can build on bricks. You can't build on straw. So I think the Bills, the front office back then knew what they were doing. Bringing in, Cornelius in that big trade and getting, some of these players that can be role players like a Kenneth Davis, who's could have started for any team and could have went to any other team during Plan B free agency, but didn't want to go because he knew what was there.
Yeah.
Could have been a starter on the team, but he was so comfortable in his role that when his name was called, Kenneth Davis usually did the job. And that's what you want on your team. And it's hard to find those guys, even in today's game. It's hard to find a guy like that. That could be the difference maker in you winning and losing. And we had, Kenneth Davis, and we had, others, Beebe and Tasker and all these other guys. I can go on and on with these guys. We won more games more games in a span of 10 years than any team in NFL history at the time. How do you do that?
Yeah, exactly. It's unbelievable. It really
How do you
is.
do that? It just doesn't happen overnight. Personnel, believing in the system, great coaches, front office has to be right. Look at Kansas City. They got a great quarterback. Last year they lost Tyreek Hill. Oh, Kansas City's done. They go win the Super Bowl.
Yeah, that's painful to think
know.
about. But you're right.
They don't win it because they got Kelsey. They got Andy Reid. They got all those. They still got those parts. The car might not run as fast, but the spark plugs are going.
It's a great analogy. I love that.
So you're right. You get rid of one spark plug, you put another spark plug in there. And that's what the Chiefs have been doing over the past 4 or 5 years. And I guess, we could talk about our team right now. And to a certain point, if you guys want to ask about that, I can.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, how do you liken this day and age, these Bills, compared to your 90s Bills? Do you see similarities? Do you see, them going on a similar track? Do you think that they have it? Is it, obviously we're in a win now mode. We have to win a Super Bowl this year. That's my mentality. I'm sure it's theirs, of course. But realistically, do you see that happening?
I do. I think, I'm not going to say no. It's my team.
Yeah.
I live out here in San Diego, and I don't wear Bill stuff. People know who I am if they see me, whatever.
Yeah.
But they know where my allegiance is. I'm not going to be a Cowboys fan. Come on. That ain't happening. This team, if you want to say the window is closing a little bit, it has closed the past couple years. 2 divisional games and a championship game the past 3 years. Teams have gained on them. Miami's gained on them. The Jets now with Aaron Rodgers has gained. The Patriots, the division isn't, the Bills are going to win this division. Nobody's saying that this year, are they? The last 3 years, the Bills were supposed to win that division.
Runaways. Yeah.
Yeah. And it wasn't a runaway any of those years. They still had to go out there. 2 years ago, they had to nail biters to the end to win a division. So every team's going to get better. When I played, we used to beat the dog out the Patriots. In old Foxborough Stadium.
Yeah.
Back in the day where the turf was rolled up in the corners of the end zone.
Crazy.
You don't want to run a 7 cut in the corner of the end zone. You might be the rest of your career. But in order for you to get to a Super Bowl in the AFC, you had to beat the Patriots. You had to beat Tom Brady. Right? To win a Super Bowl, now you got to beat Patrick Mahomes. Flat out.
Got to beat Joe Burrow too now.
But Joe Burrow ain't been in no Super Bowl. He's been in one Super Bowl.
That's true.
Mahomes has won 2.
Yeah.
It's Mahomes, Joe Burrow, Josh Allen. Maybe not in that order. I'm gonna put Josh above because it's Josh. But Josh Allen has to figure out how to beat Burrow and Mahomes because they're gonna be there. Cincinnati's gonna be there. Kansas City's gonna be there. And if you look at our schedule towards the end of the year, the meat and potatoes of that schedule is Cincinnati, Kansas City. So they got to win the games early, and don't let the games you're supposed to win bite you when you have to win these. And you do have to beat them. If you want a home game, you want to go to Super Bowl, you got to beat 2 teams. You got to beat Kansas City, you got to beat Cincinnati.
I'll tell you another game you have to win, and that's the one in
The
London.
one coming up, yeah, in October.
The one in London. Yes, sir.
Jacksonville, Jacksonville
Great
ain't
segue.
no joke. Jacksonville's
Yes.
no joke.
They are not. They are not for
Trevor
sure. Up and
Lawrence
coming.
Trevor has stepped his game up last year. I went to the Jacksonville San Diego game here at SoFi last year. They beat the brakes off of the Chargers that day. And I think that was Trevor Lawrence's really, I wouldn't say coming out, but it really put a stamp on him developing as a quarterback in this league. And he did that all last year.
Yep.
So that's not Jacksonville isn't a walk in the park like it used to be.
And by the way, they got Kelvin Ridley coming back this year. So
Yeah.
they're real.
Jacksonville's a very good young team.
Yeah, and they've had our number. They've beaten us like the last 3 out of 5, including that 9-6 loss that we had against them a couple of years ago, which was just shocking. But
Yeah.
Andre, you're absolutely right. They're up and coming. That's going to be an amazing game.
It's going to be an amazing game.
So I remembered what I was going to ask you.
Go
Sorry,
ahead.
I want to circle back to those Super Bowl years because I know Jake and Nate were a little young then, but I had the opportunity to work close to the stadium for a local sports store called Bert's Bike and Sports, and they're still there. And Steve Tasker rolled into the store one day to get his bike worked on. And this was shortly after that 1990 Super Bowl, that loss against the Giants. And we were talking, and he said, I haven't watched it. And this was months after. I haven't watched it. I don't know if I can ever watch it. And so I want to ask you the question. Did you go back and watch that game? And what about your kids? Have they gone through and watched those games with you? And what did they think about that?
Yeah. My son might have watched it, but it's not that I can't watch the game. Put it this way, I choose not to.
Yeah.
I choose not to because there's so many different things in that game that it should have never came down to that. It should have never came down to Scott kicking a 46 yard or 44 yard, for whatever it was, on grass. Now on turf, I mean, turf is a little different. I think we'd have a Super Bowl ring if it would have been on turf, because the way that ball was going on turf, that ball might have slid in there. But on grass, it's a little different. But I don't really. I mean, they play it sometimes, on NFL Network, and during the playoffs, they always play the comeback game during the playoffs. I watched that because that was fun. But the Super Bowl, usually I usually don't watch it because I'm, not pissed, but still a little,
Yeah.
shoulda, coulda, woulda.
Yeah. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Sorry, I don't mean to bring up those painful memories for you. But
After 25, 30 years, I think that pain is gone. Really, it's just,
yeah.
you just think about what could have been
Yeah.
instead of this or that. Yeah.
Yeah, and during the 90s, I mean, you had the great rivalry with the Dolphins. And I wanted to ask you, who was that toughest matchup at corner for you? Who was that guy that you're like, oh, man, this is going to be a battle to the end?
Well, I usually got the first, I got the first corner every year, every game. And they weren't going to put the third guy on me. Sometimes the second guy if the first guy was hurt. But I was going to get Woodson. I was going to get Dion. I was going to get Darryl Green. Who else? I was going to every first corner on their opposing team, either that guy followed me or not.
Yeah.
And I, you know, I had to do my homework. I mean, I had to do extra stuff. My game had to be ready to go. And I won a lot. They won a lot. But most thing that I got from it is respect. I got respect from those guys.
Yeah, 100%.
You think about some of those Hall of Fame corners you got to play against too, and it was a much more physical game back then. Now, I mean, a corner touches a receiver, you know, it's a flag automatically, and you could really sell yourself. I think back in the day, you know, looking at the battles that you probably had to endure, you know, going up against these top corners, you know, it honestly that much more respect for you because, you know, you have a big game against one of those guys. It's like it's not easy.
Yeah.
You're out there every play grinding.
You guys, I don't know. Sometimes they played a no punt game when we played the 49ers at Old Candlestick Park there in San Francisco.
Yeah. I remember that game.
We played them early in the season. So basically the Giants, the baseball team was still playing. They started playing, you know, they're in the baseball season. So it was the whole infield of the baseball stadium. It was the worst. I think I still have rocks on my elbows from that game. And that was 1990 or 1992 or 91 or 92. But, you know, it was Jerry Rice and Steve Young. We were the number one offense, and 49ers were number two. And nobody punt.
That was awesome.
That was a lot of fun. It was like whoever got the ball last was going to win that game.
That was
we ended up winning it in overtime. So, but what a fun game. I mean, it was 5 or 6 Hall of Famers on the field that day. So that was a fun game to be because I was really hyped to go against Jerry. And Jim was hyped to go against Steve Young.
Yeah.
So it was and the 49ers defense back then wasn't really that great, but they played well together. I think both our defenses were kind of the same, bend but don't break.
Yep.
And it was up to, you know, capitalizing on mistakes. And Chris Moore didn't even get dirty, our punter. He went in the locker room, took his clothes off, took his uniform on, and just put his pants, put his stuff on and got on the bus. It was like, hey, man, that was an easy check for you.
That's awesome. Chris Moore, that's a great name. He, I work out at a gym. It's called STA, and actually, his son trained over there at that gym. I think he still works out there from time to
time.
But,
his son Garrett.
Yeah, Garrett. Yeah. Shout out to Ben Woods. He trains a lot of those guys. I know actually, him and Thurman. He learned under Thurman. Basically, me and Nate actually both used to go to Thurman Thomas sports training back in the day too.
Oh yeah.
A lot of familiarity with Thurman and all those guys. So it was pretty cool to, you know, be able to meet them and just chop it up every day. So,
but
yeah,
back when I came in the league, everybody like Jim had his own show, Thurman had his own show.
Yeah.
Cornelius had his own show. Did any of those guys got their own shows? I don't think none of them do they?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, that's a good question. That's a good question. I don't think any of those guys like have their own show.
Yeah.
After games or like, you know, on a Tuesday, a day off, they have their show.
Just Fina. Just Fina. That's it.
John Fina. That's it. Yeah.
I don't think these guys, they don't have the time. It's not that they don't have the time. Yeah, they don't have the time for that.
Yeah.
Before I was going to take some questions from the channel, but and Nate, I'll throw it to you. But real quick, I had a question, and this really is Jake. Jake and I worked together to put together our questions, but I think this is really important. So, if you can describe what it was like when you got the knock on the door, saying you were finally going to be enshrined, Andre, in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. I mean, what was that like?
Well, first of all, it wasn't a knock on the door at the time. It was a phone call. They called you on the phone, which is worse. I'd rather not the knock come than call me on the phone and tell me, you know?
Yeah.
So they had the phone call. And I think that after the year I went in, that's when they started to knock on the door. What was that like? I guess if I had a dime for every question that somebody asked me that, I would. It was surreal, and I remember sitting in a hotel in New York City because the Super Bowl was in New York that year, And the Super Bowl will never be in New York again. I don't know why they.
Nope.
Because it snowed. It's actually snowed the day after the Super Bowl, so people almost couldn't get out of New York. Had my agent and a couple other people in the room with me, and they were like, "Well, just wait for a phone call." And this was the first year of the NFL honors that came out, in 14. So I remember, we had vodka and we were having a good time. It was like, yeah, man, this is your time. Probably gonna be your time, man. It's gonna be your time. And I just like, well, if it is, it is. I mean, I don't think I could do any more. I'd been up for I think 6 or 7 years. So this is my 7th or 8th year, and I got a phone call on the phone, and it was a writer that was in the room talking to me about them voting. They were voting. And I was like, he said to me, you made the final 10. And I said, well, I've made the final 10 the last like 6 years. So I said that to myself. And he goes, all right, I gotta go. I gotta go. I'll call you back in about 15 minutes when we get to the final 5. So about 25 minutes goes and I get another phone call. And the first time I didn't look at the number. I just picked the phone up. So I looked at the number and I'm like, 212. Well, first of all, this is the third call. This is the second call. It was him again. He says, you're in the final 5. Now they got to vote. Everybody's got to say yes, 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 yes. So put the phone down. I was like, dude, I'm in the final 5. This could be it this year. That could be it. Could be it. Then I get a phone call and I look at the phone number. It's 212, and 212 is New York.
Ooh.
So I'm like, who's calling me right now? I'm waiting for this phone call from Canton. Who's calling me? I'm looking for a 303 number, and it's a 212 number. So my agent goes, pick it up, man. It could, whatever, pick it up. So I pick up the phone. I said, hello, this is Andre. He says, hey, Andre, this is Joe Horgan from the Hall of Fame. And I'm like, oh, I was like, he's going to tell me you didn't make it this year again. And he goes, what are you doing? And I go, dude, what do you think I'm doing? I'm just sitting here like waiting for the phone call. He goes, well, you don't have to wait anymore. This is a phone call.
Wow.
Congratulations. Welcome to the 2014 NFL Hall of Fame. And I put the phone down and I looked at my agents and I went, so that was it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Incredible. So happy for you, and well deserved. Should have came sooner for sure. Let me throw it to Nate for one more question. I'll take a couple easy questions for you, Andre, from the channel, and then we'll sum it up and with talking about this London travel package. And so, Nate, why don't you ask something there, sir?
Well, we got a whole bunch from these folks that have been hanging out in the chat. Let's grab some of them, and we'll.
I wanted to pull a good one up here. This is for you, Nate, from Scott.
I did see that.
Appreciate you, Scott. This is great. Little ode to your former show, your Food for Thought show, which was incredible, by the way. But go ahead, take it away.
This is a tough one coming off the cuff. A food analogy to describe the chemistry between Jim Kelly and Andre Reed. Well, I would say it's probably like the chemistry you get between like a hot chicken wing and blue cheese here in Buffalo, like from Bar-Bill. Like I feel like that's probably as good of an analogy as you're gonna get, like a Buffalo wing with a little.
I'm gonna go old school, man. I'm gonna go old school. Peanut butter and jelly.
Oh, okay. All right. Listen, I was just trying to make the Buffalo connection, man. You know what I mean?
Hey, the wings always. You can have anything with wings, but peanut butter and jelly.
That's right.
A nice soggy one too. Oh, can't beat that.
Let's bring this one up from Big Al.
Yeah, I mean, you might as well ask the question.
Yeah. Where does Andre like eating the buffalo wings at?
In Buffalo, you know what? Out here in San Diego, I've had some buffalo wings, but they're not like the wings in Buffalo, obviously. They think their wings are good, and I go, yay. So I said to him, you ever have buffalo wings? He goes, yeah, they're right here. I go, no. Have you ever been to Buffalo and had the wings in Buffalo? Those are the wings. Those are the real wings. I mean, when I got there in '85, I used to go to Anchor Bar.
There we go. The original.
That was really the first spot I went and had wings at. And then as the years went on, Duff's was pretty good.
Yeah.
There's a lot of little small places that have good wings in Buffalo. So whenever I get there or go to a game, I try to go to a new spot. You know, a little mom
You've
and
had
pop
barbell,
stores.
right? You've
Yes,
had barbell.
I've had barbell,
Okay.
yes. Those are good
Just
too.
making sure.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I've had them.
Love it.
But you can't go wrong with wings in Buffalo. It's like going to Kansas City and barbecue.
Yeah.
You know, you can't go wrong.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up because I'm out here in SoCal as well. I actually work in San Diego and live up in Temecula. And people all the time, they don't believe me. I'm like, yeah, these wings aren't good out here. I'm like, what do you mean? We got all these different wing places. I'm like, they're just not the same. There is a difference. So I totally understand what you're saying there.
Well, the tacos out here are great.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Tacos back home, they're not as great.
Yeah.
All
I'll
right,
give you that.
I'm gonna bring up one more from the channel. This is for a gentleman I work with. I don't know, Andre. He says, back in the day when you were a player, were all the guys playing Tecmo, that video game, the way a lot of current players play Madden? Nothing better than Jim Kelly throwing a ball 115 yards in the air to Andre Reed for a touchdown.
Yeah, Tecmo Bowl was good, man. Tecmo Bowl. Oh man.
He said
video games back then where you basically really went to arcades. You know, I used to play Dig Dug and Defender and all that stuff back in the day, and Mario Brothers, all that. That's you actually went to an arcade and played video games. But sometimes I come across people and say, "Yo, man, I remember you in Tecmo Bowl," and yeah.
That's the first thing you said when I said you were coming on the show. Oh my goodness, I got to get out there and ask him about Tecmo.
Tecmo Bowl is a joint, man. Well, that's for everything that starts, something's bigger. You know, Madden now is out of control. Madden every year is getting bigger, but Tecmo Bowl was what started it. Actually, electric football. I don't know if you guys remember that.
Oh,
like
absolutely.
on the
oh yes.
put the players and they all
remember the quarterback. You had to put a little cotton ball in there.
Yeah,
hit them. Yeah,
I love that. Wow,
old electric football, man. I mean, my brothers used to play that all the time.
Yeah,
Until the electric went out, then that was it. That
was it.
You didn't pay the electric bill. Electric football tonight.
Big L had a good question. I think this is kind of big news right now. What does Andre think about picking up Hopkins?
Obviously, that would be a big boost. I mean, DeAndre Hopkins has been that receiver ever since he's been in the league. It just so how would they incorporate him into that offense? I mean, would it change a lot? No. It just would be another viable weapon, a guy that could be a Hall of Famer someday. No doubt. I think he has a good shot. I think DeAndre Hopkins right now is thinking he wants to play somewhere where not only he could flourish, but he wants to win a Super Bowl too. He's kind of getting up in there in years. He's had a couple of injuries, but every guy that's at that point of his career, wants to be somewhere where he has a chance to win a ring. And he loves Josh Allen. Buffalo would be a perfect spot. A year ago, I thought we were going to get Odell. That didn't happen. But if Brandon Beane and McDermott and all the people up in the front office can make it happen, make it happen.
Yeah. We'll see. We'll see for sure. I think it would be, fingers crossed.
And I met Dalton Kincaid out here at the
oh, yeah, I saw that picture on your Instagram.
How was it?
I mean,
cool, man. He's going to be a beast, man.
I love it. I love hearing that. We've been missing that element. That I know some people mentioned.
Be a beast. So you put him and Knox on the field at the same time.
Yeah, man.
You can't double everybody.
That's right. That's right. And we're missing the yak element, Andre. We haven't had a guy that can get the yak like you did. We've been missing that for so many years now. Is he going to be that guy? Give him your blessing, please.
Like I said, depends. I mean, depends on what the Bills do on offense to get him the ball. and what kind of packages they can use him in. Because once you declare him in a certain package, then the defense is going to declare him either tight end, receiver, flanker, all that kind of stuff. So
Right.
It's we got to get him out in space. I mean, he could run. And Knox is more of a inside the numbers guy. I think Dalton Kincaid is more kind of like a Keith McKellar.
Oh, I love that.
Oh yeah.
So Knox is like a little faster Pete Metzelaars, and Kincaid is like a little more agile Keith McKellar. And Keith McKellar was very agile.
Yeah, apparently he's who the K Gun was named after.
K Gun, yeah.
Yeah.
So that's
now we got
awesome.
the Bash brothers with or the DK brothers.
Yeah, we'll think of. Hey, ask the Mafia to think of a name for him. I'm sure they can.
Oh yeah.
I've seen a few already.
Yeah.
I think this is a great follow-up question from Scott. He says, kind of a technical question, but how has the game evolved in terms of coverage and route running? Apart from physicality, is it still similar X's and O's?
Good question. Yes, I think it's still similar, but these receivers get a little bit more room now. There's not a guy up in their face, a yard from them and jamming them all the way down the field, or, the 5-yard rule. It's like a quarterback can get his read right away from what the defense is doing by just not only looking at it, but how a certain player is playing. One thing is really good in the league is route running. A lot of good route runners are in the game. Devontae Adams, Stephon, Cooper Kupp. These are all good route runners because they're in space a little bit more. They got to find holes in defenses. So X's and O's are the same to a certain point. I think the X factor is always like a running back or a guy like Dawson Knox, a guy like that Kelsey. Kelsey can split out and he can get the mismatches that you want. That's the way the game's going. It has gone for the past probably 10 years.
Yeah. Nate, I don't know if you had a final question. I want to take one more from the channel here and then kind of bring it home. This kind of brings it home a little bit because it gets back to talking about international games from our good friends over at the Go Bills podcast. Andre, what are your thoughts on the international games? As a former player, is it hard with all the time changes?
I really don't think it's that hard. I think these guys are, they kind of know what's happening. It's not like they're, they know what's happening. They know the time. They know they got to get the rest, and they'll probably be getting the rest like the week before just to get like their body kind of acclimated to a certain point of, being over there. And the team does everything possible for these guys to be ready to go. It's not like they're going over there the day before and they're going to play that, the next day. That's not happening. But, both teams will be ready for that.
Yeah, I agree. And Jacksonville's got a little bit of an advantage. They're going to be there the week before as well. In week 5 when they play the Bills, they'll probably be a little more well rested. But Nate, before we take it back and talk about this package one more time, I know I've skipped over a few times. Did you have any last questions for Andre?
No, last one I got is, obviously we got this new stadium coming up, Andre. It's interesting because Tottenham, the Hotspur Stadium where this game is going to be held, the same architecture firm that built that stadium is going to be building the Bills Stadium, and they're going to look a lot alike. So going to London and hanging out with you and going to this Bills game, you're going to kind of get a preview of what you're going to expect in 2026 when the new stadium's open.
Yeah, I know there was a lot of polls of fans saying, or I don't know if it was fans or not, but hey, you should put something on the top of this. I knew that wasn't going to happen out there in Buffalo. They're not going to. After 60 years of playing football there with no dome over top. They weren't going to put. Maybe they'll put something over there, but it's not going to be able to close. And that's it's a big advantage for Buffalo every year during November, December to come to Buffalo and play there. So
you're a team no dome guy then.
no dome.
Love that. Hey, I'm there too. I feel like we're outnumbered though a little bit, Andre. I feel like most people want a dome because the game's sort of caught up. You think about these players that, most of them do play down south or they reside down south after the season's done. So people are saying, maybe if you put a dome over top, we could see Josh Allen at his best. Well, Josh has no problem throwing through 60-mile-per-hour winds. You just got to catch the football, plain and simple, right?
Josh went to Wyoming. He played.
Yeah, he's ready for that.
Huge hands. Come on now.
We got to use that to our advantage.
That's right.
I don't see that happening, even if they petition for it and sign a petition. All the fans. I don't think a lot of fans do want that.
I hope so. I hope that's the case.
Yeah, there might be some fans that do want it, but most fans love to sit out in that stuff.
I do.
It's documented.
It's a business trip,
It's documented, man.
Right.
They love sitting out in that weather. It's part of their heritage. It's part of them. If you put a dome on there, it kind of takes Buffalo like as not a fan base, but as the weather and Buffalo and all that. It takes that out of the question. We got to use that. Fans are built on that.
Minnesota made the same mistake. They went from being outside in that real cold Minnesota winter. They put a dome over top. And yeah, sure, they've had some really good offenses, but have they gotten a Super Bowl? No.
Yeah.
Boom.
There we go.
I'll go to lights.
So Dr. Blake Podger now. Congratulations.
Any other future
Dr.
acting
Blake.
gig?
Yeah, so you're so close to LA, Andre. Good looking guy. You got any future acting gigs in the works?
I don't know. Maybe 3:00 in the morning when you wake up, you might see me. You never know.
Okay. All right.
I'm not saying yes or no, but yeah, would I love to do it again? Those things. Yes, definitely. I have to pursue it more. I'm running around doing other things right now, but it's a possibility.
Awesome. Well, listen, Andre, appreciate all your time with us. I want to be respectful of your time here on Monday night, Memorial Day. Really appreciate you coming on. It's been an honor for me. Sorry for the technical issues earlier and my loss of thought sometimes, but it truly is. I was been a fan of you from day one.
Appreciate
and it's just incredible to me to be on here talking to you. And I just want to remind folks why we started this particular show. It's all about the travel packages to London to see the Buffalo Bills take on the Jacksonville Jaguars Week 5, October 8th. Check out the packages. All the information's in the description of this video. You're going to be getting to hang out with this gentleman right here, Andre Reed, and just amazing. And Jake, let me throw it to you real quick for final thoughts, and then Nate. And again, thank you so much, Andre. I'm out here, and I know Greg. Maybe we can meet up sometime in
We'll
SoCal.
play some golf, man. We'll play some golf.
Yeah, whatever. Thank you.
Speak my language.
Yeah, we'll play some golf. But thank you guys for having me. This is going to be a great trip, not only for me, but for the fans coming out. Bills Mafia, I know, is going to represent. And of any place they want to take over, they don't took over all the stadiums here. Mostly Tennessee I went to, took that over. LA, they took that over. Now let's go international and take over all the British people and what they do.
Heck yeah. I love that.
Yeah. Look forward to seeing everybody October 5th.
Yeah.
Amen to that.
Or October,
Remember to use code
8th.
READ83 when you're checking out those packages. You get $83 off per person. There's the code right there. Just scan it with your phone. Go right to the site right there and book your packages. Jake, final thoughts with Andre?
Yeah, I just want to first off thank you so much, Andre. Appreciate you, man. And Nate, thank you so much, brother. This is like a family. This is a family affair here. Nate's my cousin. I've been wanting to get him. I've been wanting to get him on the show for so long now, and to be able to share this moment with him, to interview you, Nate and I mean, quarterback, receiver, We used
There
to
you
tend to be
go.
Jim Kelly, Andre Reed back in the day, but
In the front yard.
in the front yard, of course.
yard.
But
I want to know
man,
one thing, Jake. I want to know one thing. Are you going to go with the Movember thing this November?
you think I should? My wife says I look like Jeffrey Dahmer with a stash. So I don't know if I can.
man.
You know, I know it's tough, but Andre, I do have to ask you a question because I've gotten this a couple times, and I'll admit I think I'm a Walmart version of him. But people do say that I look similar to Josh Allen.
Dude, you know what? I see a little bit.
You're gonna make my head explode.
There you go.
I appreciate the hell out of that.
A little bit because doesn't Josh do a little Movember?
He
too?
does, yeah. He does. He did the
does.
handlebars.
Yeah, dude. Start going down to the bars in Buffalo, man. They might think you do. It might be your next caller. You could be your doppelganger, man.
I put in for the commercial last year. They were looking for people for that Doritos commercial for a doppelganger, and I didn't get it. But hey, I'm gonna keep trying.
I'm gonna see him. When I see him, I'll be like, Josh, somebody out there looking just like you, man.
Please do. Please do.
I will. Thank you, guys. I
Wow.
appreciate it. Looking forward to October there in London with the fans and for Bills win, man. Victory out there against Jacksonville.
Amen to that.
All right. Well, thank you, Andre. Appreciate it again. Get over to check out those packages, and I'll be checking them out myself because this is a once in a lifetime opportunity.
It'll be October before you know it. For sure.
Exactly.
That's
exactly. And these things are going to go fast. So check them out. As soon as you're off the show, go check the link and get there. Nate, thank you so much. Andre, thank you so much. Love
Good
you
job,
guys.
guys. Appreciate it.
Hey,
Have a good
appreciate
one.
you.
Take care,
Thank
everyone.
you, guys. Go Bills.
Go Bills.